We thought we had seen it all, from mass murders, psychopaths, hooligans, and serial killers to even presidents. Cops have been on a roll arresting people of all types, but have seen cases where they arrest FBI agents. Were they rightly arrested? And do wrongful arrests of law enforcement officials call for the arrest with heavier punishments? Join us as we check a look at bizarre cases where dumb decisions from cops take them to rather odd position. So why don't we just kick things off with a crossover story of an FBI agent who has been wrongfully jailed? In our first case, the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department detained a former FBI agent for no apparent reason. It was a bizarre and ridiculous incident. As it turned out, Roger Golubski, a former detective, had been falsely accused of assaulting 2 black women between 1998 and 2002. There have been 2 accusations, to be exact. The real question is, however, how did the Kansas City police force allow him to get away with it for so long? Roger Golubski's unsolved case was discovered by the FBI while it was looking into the Kansas City Police Department's behavior. The former detective had a history of sexually assaulting women over the course of his 35-year career as a police officer and had been trading drugs for information. Lamonte McIntyre, a young black man, was accused of committing a double homicide by Golubski during his time as a police officer. McIntyre was ultimately freed after serving 24 years in prison without proper cause as a result. Golubski was taken into custody by the FBI on suspicion of 6 counts of sexually assaulting 2 black women. He has since entered a not guilty plea. Despite the jury rejecting his lawyer's request for release on medical grounds, he was kept in custody for routine medical examination. Black woman Rhonda Tribute, whose corpse was discovered in 1998, was one of Golubski's informants. Her case remains unsolved despite the fact that the investigation was started but never finished. She died, and Golubski's involvement is now being called into question by many people. That is exactly what we are saying. Many civil rights advocates across the nation have praised the arrest of Golubski, but it also raises serious questions about police behavior and the abuse of their authority. According to Tricia Bullnell, the director of the Midwest Innocence Project, a full investigation into the abuses in Wyandotte County and systematic reforms are needed to ensure that no other police officers and public officials can continue to abuse their power. As more of Golubski's crimes were discovered, it became clear that the Kansas City Police Department needed significant restructuring. Several inquiries remain unanswered as a result of the FBI's inquiry into the department. Roger Golubski's arrest was long overdue, but it's worth noting that it was the FBI, not the Kansas City Police, who brought him to justice. Next up, with the arrest of 2 Drug Enforcement Administration officers by the FBI in Nassau County, Florida, the situation has unexpectedly turned around. The DEA, a law enforcement organization renowned for its aggressive efforts to combat the drug trade, has charged 2 officers with drug-related offenses. But the system's level of dysfunction clearly remains unclear. While selling drugs, including cocaine, that had been seized to willing customers, Sergeant James Hickox was captured with his hand in a cookie jar. His greed knew no bounds as he also combined drugs with other substances to make up the weight difference and kept parts for himself. In his bedroom closet, the FBI discovered 3 shoeboxes, each containing $100,000 in cash. They also discovered another $200,000 hidden in his garage. Hickox claimed that he borrowed the funds for his claim by partaking in his gambling habit when asked where the money came from. Hickox's actions have hurt the DEA's reputation and are obviously a breach of his obligations as a law enforcement officer. Joshua Erie, a highway inspector, had been covered in the same drugs that had to be seized, even going so far as to legally approve the prescription of 43 oxycodone pills. He purchased drugs from drug dealers. As if that weren't enough, while under the influence of drugs, he acquired a gun. Due to the fact that he was trusted with the law rather than the law itself, Erie's actions were not only wrong, but also dangerous. The surprise arrest of these officers leaves the public wondering just how pervasive corruption is within law enforcement organizations. Sheriff Bill Leeper expressed his dissatisfaction by saying, "I think we need to make sure law enforcement personnel who violate the law are held accountable. When I learned of the accusations, I was shocked, let down, repulsed, and beyond angry. These incidents where the police ran into the FBI were some of the most shocking ones. We now look at our last and final case. A significant mishap that made headlines involved the case of mistaken identity between a Florida deputy and an FBI agent. When he received a call from a man claiming to be an FBI agent and asking to meet him in a nearby parking lot, Officer Gordon found himself in a precarious situation. This is a classic illustration of what can go wrong if a person doesn't confirm the identity of the person they're meeting, especially when speaking to a police officer. I do, but I don't understand what the problem is with your meeting me at the office. I'll talk to the U.S. Attorney's Office about it. Cut off the recording device now." "Okay, well, I will when I leave the area, sir." "Well, I will when I leave the area, sir." Asked the officer to turn off his recording device. Suspicions should have been aroused. However, Officer Gordon continued to record the conversation, a classic move. This was a wise decision as well, because it provided proof of what had happened, which, as you can probably guess, didn't turn out too well for Officer Gordon. Despite Agent Hatton's efforts to persuade Gordon that he was an FBI agent, the officer was skeptical and demanded to know how the agent obtained his phone number. Given the predicament the officer was in, it is not shocking that he requested assistance and handcuffed Agent Hatton. However, things started to spiral out of control. It got worse when Hatton shut the car door, especially considering how hot it was in Florida. It's fortunate that Agent Hatton's condition didn't worsen because Gordon made a bad choice in doing this. Concerns were raised by Officer Gordon regarding Agent Hatton's investigation into the actions of law enforcement agencies in North Florida. Agent Hatton's claims that he was an FBI agent may not have been taken seriously by the officer because he was aware of the widespread corruption within the police department and worried about being connected to it. Let's say his ego overcame him. The hour-long incident took place on December 20 in a parking lot off U.S. Highway 98 in the coastal fishing community, 45 miles southwest of Tallahassee. Due to the heat, Agent Hatton, who was shielded from the elements by a bulletproof vest and had limited access to air conditioning, started to experience health problems like nausea and suffocation. He, however, avoided a fatal situation by being taken to a nearby hospital, where he received treatment for dehydration and heat exhaustion before being released. What do you think of our list? Do you think there are more corrupt officials out there? Sound off in the comments below. And while you are at it, make sure to hit subscribe and leave a like for more such content. Thanks for watching.
On July 20th, 2022, an auditor from the Clear Lake Community Watch, who will be referred to as Mr. Clear Lake, was driving past Deputy C. Vega of the Harris County Sheriff's Office as the deputy was conducting a traffic stop in Seabrook, Texas. Mr. Clear Lake rolled down his window and yelled an anti-police sentiment, including profanity, at Deputy Vega as he drove by. In response to this incident, Deputy Vega abandoned the ongoing traffic stop, got back onto his vehicle, made a U-turn, and began to follow Mr. Clear Lake. Mr. Clear Lake, acting responsibly, properly signaled and made a right turn, prompting Deputy Vega to activate his lights in an attempt to pull him over. In compliance with the signal, Mr. Clear Lake immediately pulled into a nearby gas station and brought his vehicle to a stop.
Why do you pull me over?
I'll tell you that if you roll it down.
Why can't you tell me now?
Because the reason I pulled you over is you were yelling something from your car.
So what?
Huh?
So what? That's why you pull me over, because I'm yelling?
I don't know if you're in need of help or anything.
Oh, I don't need help.
So,
thank you.
Okay, let me see your driver's license real quick.
I don't need help.
Deputy Vega asserted that he stopped Mr. Clear Lake's vehicle due to Mr. Clear Lake's yelling from the window. Nevertheless, Deputy Vega clarified that his primary concern was for Mr. Clear Lake's well-being, rather than taking offense at the content of his speech. It's worth noting that the First Amendment prohibits government officials from engaging in retaliatory measures against individuals for their protected expression. In this situation, it is undeniably evident that Mr. Clear Lake was involved in protected activity. as protected by the Supreme Court's long-standing recognition of profanity as protected speech under the First Amendment. Deputy Vega himself acknowledged that he initiated the traffic stop because of Mr. Clearlake's yelling from the window. However, it remains uncertain whether a court would conclude that undergoing a traffic stop resulting in a warning without any citation or arrest would be considered an injury that could deter an individual of ordinary resilience from continuing to engage in the same expressive activity. In the 2012 case of Simmons versus City of Mahmoud, it was stated that not all instances of police detention would deter an individual of ordinary resilience from exercising their protected rights.
You can just crack the window if that's what you want to do.
It's already cracked.
I can't see that.
Well,
This thing.
it doesn't matter. Here. I don't wish to answer questions.
You have to let me know if there's a weapon in the car. Did you not take the class?
I did.
Did they tell you you have to tell them?
When you demand identification, I have to display this. That's what they told me in the class. That's what the law
If
says.
the officer wants to take the
And
weapon,
actually, if I don't display, there's really not much you can do because there is no penalty attached to that. I have to carry this if I'm carrying this.
are you carrying?
I don't answer questions.
Okay, so if you have a weapon in the car, then what?
Consequently, there exists the possibility that a court might find Mr. Clearlake unable to pursue a First Amendment retaliation claim, despite Deputy Vega's evident retaliatory intent when initiating the traffic stop. However, the likelihood is much higher that Mr. Clearlake could succeed in a claim asserting Deputy Vega's violation of his Fourth Amendment rights by initiating the traffic stop without reasonable suspension or probable cause. Mr. Clearlake, who had a holstered firearm on his right hip, presented both his driver's license and his license to carry as requested by Deputy Vega. However, when asked by Deputy Vega about the presence of a handgun in the car, Mr. Clearlake declined to answer. As per Section 46.02 of the Texas Penal Code, it is considered an offense if a person intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly carries a handgun in a motor vehicle in plain view, except if the person is 21 years of age or older or possesses a valid handgun carry license and the handgun is properly holstered.
What is your name? Your name? Sheriff? That's your name? Sheriff?
Right above it, right there. You see it?
I'm not familiar with the English alphabet, sir.
Be on the ticket.
Okay. Can I have an incident number, please? Oh, a ticket. A ticket, okay.
When Deputy Vega asked for identification, Mr. Clearlake adhered to the statute's requirements, and it was not necessary for him to respond to any further inquiries from Deputy Vega concerning the potential presence of a handgun in the vehicle. Policy 302 of the Harris County Sheriff's Department Handbook establishes guidelines for what is considered professional conduct among deputies and other HCSO employees. This policy imposes an obligation on them to provide official identification when required. Upon Deputy Vega's notification that the traffic stop had concluded, he directed Mr. Clearlake to remain inside his vehicle. Although Mr. Clearlake opened the door, he showed no signs of attempting to exit. As a response to this action, Deputy Vega drew his weapon.
Did I exit the vehicle?
I'm
Did I
giving you a
exit
heads
the
up.
vehicle?
Give you a heads up.
Did I exit the vehicle? Hey, can I? You do have a dashcam, right? Very good. You can't just pull me over because I said the police. I hope you realize that, stupid. I'm sorry?
Do you have insurance on the vehicle?
Yeah,
Can you show it to me, please? It doesn't come back.
of course it comes back.
Not on my system, it doesn't. Also, it's not typical behavior.
According to the policy, deputies can ready their weapons when approaching potentially dangerous situations, but displaying or pointing firearms in a threatening manner is only permitted when objectively reasonable. Deputy Vega's actions removing the firearm when Mr. Clearlake opened the vehicle door might be justified due to potential concerns.
Did you read my address on the driver
It
license?
didn't have an address. It didn't have an apartment number on your driver's
Of course it does.
Let me see. Can you verify?
You've already seen it. I've already complied with that part.
I know. Okay, I'll be right back. Yeah, I say that I've never met anybody quite like you that would yell at an officer doing their job, but
So,
you have a great
let
day.
me
There's no
understand.
warning, no fines, no penalty.
May I ask you a question?
There's questions on there. There's the address.
Yeah,
There's
no, I
the,
have a
there's
question.
an incident
Can you
number
get your
on the thing right
supervisor here, please?
No,
Is the stop over?
the stop is over. You may leave.
All right.
Please don't exit until I get out. Until I leave.
Well, you said the stop is over, right?
There is no indication that Mr. Clearlake had received any materials from the public records request. Additionally, he has expressed his intention to file a complaint and a lawsuit.
For what? Failed to signal with turn indicator within 100 feet. Drew the weapon on me. He drew the gun.
In conclusion, Deputy Vega's actions are heavily criticized, earning him an F grade for retaliating against Mr. Clearlake, who is exercising his First Amendment rights. The initiation of a traffic stop without reasonable suspicion and unnecessary brandishing of his firearm are the specific reasons for this criticism. Now, moving to the next one. On February 8, 2023, a fire broke out in the quadplex apartment of college student Taylor Brown, situated in Normal, Illinois. Following the incident, both fire officials and police officers from the Normal Police Department arrived at the scene. At the request of the officers, Ms. Brown agreed to be taken to Normal Police Station for questioning. However, after waiting for more than 40 minutes without being interviewed, Ms. Brown asked to be taken back home. The subsequent interaction between Ms. Brown and the officers was recorded by an unknown officer's body camera.
Who are you on your phone with? So we're gonna have to seize your phone, so go ahead and hang up.
Seize my phone for what?
Go ahead and hang up.
Why?
Go ahead and hang up.
They want to seize my phone, but I'm not under arrest for it.
You're not under arrest, but your phone's gonna be seized.
No.
You're gonna hang up the phone.
I seized my phone, but
So-
I'm not in custody.
so listen,
There's
so-
three of them all around me.
so listen.
FaceTime you for a second.
You listen for a second. So the fire's gonna be under investigation,
That's fine.
okay? And we're gonna seize your phone
Why?
because the fire's under investigation.
I need to know what my
So you can hand me the phone, or I can take the phone.
But I need to know what my phone's being. They're not telling me a reason why my phone's being
I just did.
But you said it's under investigation, which I
So listen to me. The fire.
That's her phone?
So the fire's gonna be under investigation, and your phone's gonna be seized.
The officers informed Ms. Brown that her phone was being seized due to the ongoing investigation of the fire in her apartment. Typically, in compliance with the Fourth Amendment's protection against unreasonable seizures, the government is required to obtain a warrant based on probable cause before legally seizing an individual's personal property, including their cell phone. In this particular situation, it remains unclear what evidence the officers had, if any, to suggest that Ms. Brown's phone contained pertinent information regarding the fire. However, according to a lawsuit filed by Ms. Brown regarding this incident, the officers attempted to secure a search warrant for her phone after its seizure, but the warrant was not approved by the state's attorney.
Hang up the phone and they're going to take the phone, because at this point I'm being threatened.
It's not a threat. I've asked you several times, and you're just gonna go back and forth with me.
A reason as to why my
So,
phone is being taken.
so the fire is going to be under investigation by the fire department. So stop. Don't interrupt me.
What does that have to do with my device?
So don't interrupt me. The fire is going to be under investigation.
Don't ever tell me not to interrupt you, and I've been this calm.
So the phone's going to be seized. So in a second, I'm going to take
That's
it.
what I'm asking you. I'm
So if
asking
you-
you a reason.
so
I'm
if-
not being rebuttal. I'm asking you a reason.
So if you would like to talk to the detective, you can. Do you wish to talk to him?
Yeah, but...
Do you want to get an interview?
No, I wanted to ask him why my phone's being seized, because she said she could take me home, but without my phone. That doesn't make sense.
After law enforcement officers have lawfully obtained a cell phone, the concern of the arrestee potentially deleting incriminating data from the phone is eliminated. However, it is crucial to note that even under these circumstances, the officers are still not permitted to search the contents of the phone without obtaining a warrant, unless a court has explicitly authorized such a search. The officers made an effort to seize Miss Brown's phone, and when she resisted by pulling away, they responded by forcing her to the ground in an attempt to take the phone from her possession. Using physical force against an individual who poses no verbal or physical threat in an attempt to seize property that is lawfully in their possession would constitute a violation of their constitutional rights. However, if the individual is found to be resisting, officers may be allowed to use reasonable force based on specific circumstances. At the time of the officer's attempt to seize Miss Brown's phone, she was not under arrest, so any potential charges would likely fall under the obstruction subsection.
Are you going to talk to the detective?
As a matter of fact, are you recording this?
Are you going to talk to the detective and provide an interview? Yes or no?
Is that with or without the phone?
Without the phone. The phone's being seized. Are you talking to the detective or no?
Is the phone being
I don't know.
That-
That's not my question.
I need an answer to that before I get
So the question is, are you going to provide an interview?
No.
No? Okay.
Unless
Go ahead and hand me the phone.
I have to know if my
Go,
phone is
nope.
being seized.
Go ahead and hand me the phone. Do not kick. Okay, push your legs out. Stop. Relax. Relax.
Mom, I'm not letting go. I promise.
Relax.
Mom, I'm not letting go. I
Relax.
promise.
We just want your phone. That's it.
We just
okay?
want your phone.
They're trying to give me no protection.
Assuming that the officers lacked the reasonable suspicion required to seize Miss Brown's cell phone without a warrant, it's also probable that a court would conclude she could not be convicted of resisting an unauthorized act by a police officer. Once Miss Brown was placed in handcuffs and helped to stand up, the officers informed her that they would be charging her with resisting an aggravated battery of a police officer. The Appellate Court of Illinois utilized a similar statute that allowed the use of force to prevent unlawful entries into one's dwelling, resulting in the defendant's battery conviction being overturned. The court found that the defendant's actions were based on a reasonable belief that her conduct was necessary to terminate the officer's unlawful entry into her dwelling, and her limited use of force was deemed justified. Applying a similar logic in Miss Brown's case, where she may argue that she used force to protect her personal property, it's conceivable that she could potentially be acquitted of any battery charges brought against her. After her arrest, Miss Brown was taken to McLean County Jail and was subsequently released at approximately 1 p.m. the following day. Interestingly, she was not charged with resisting, battery, or any other offense related to the altercation at the police station or the fire incident at her apartment. The officers returned Miss Brown's phone to her around 3:30 p.m., several hours after her release on February 23, 2023. In response to the incident, Miss Brown filed a federal lawsuit against the unidentified normal officers involved, alleging false arrest, excessive force, failure to intervene, and battery. As of now, the lawsuit's still awaiting resolution. In summary, the normal Illinois officers received a failing grade, as it is highly probable that they seized Miss Brown's phone without the necessary probable cause and also used unnecessary force when she refused to allow them to take her phone without a warrant. Additionally, the arrest of Miss Brown resulted in charges that were eventually found to be baseless. Now let's move to the next and last case of today's video. On February 9, 2023, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine conducted a press conference at an elementary school in East Palestine, Ohio, to provide updates regarding the derailment of a train carrying toxic chemicals. During this time, News Nation correspondent Evan Lambert was in the back of the gymnasium, filming a pre-scheduled live update while Governor DeWine was speaking at the front. Two members of the Ohio State Highway Patrol and the Ohio National Guard's Major General John Harris Jr. approached Mr. Lambert and requested him to halt the broadcast, citing his alleged loudness. The ensuing interaction was captured by the body camera of one of the Highway Patrol troopers, although there was no available audio recording. Despite the absence of sound recording during the initial part of the interaction, the footage reveals an argument between Mr. Lambert and Major General Harris. Subsequently, Major General Harris is seen pushing Mr. Lambert. Following the incident, Mr. Lambert alleges that Major General Harris assaulted him, while Major General Harris claims he felt threatened. However, it is essential to acknowledge that this explanation seems to contradict the body camera footage, which shows Major General Harris as the instigator of the altercation and does not display any physically aggressive behavior from Mr. Lambert. Sheriff Brian McLaughlin of the Columbiana County Sheriff's Office instructs Mr. Lambert to depart from the area. In response, Mr. Lambert clarifies that he is attempting to listen to the press briefing and carry out his job, emphasizing that his actions are protected by the First Amendment.
Go. Just walk outside. Come on, out the doors. Out the doors. Out the doors.
By other media right here. I'm going to listen.
I don't care. You're going to walk out the door.
I'm going to listen.
You're going to walk
Do
out
not
the door.
touch me.
Come on out, sir. You're going to walk out the door. Because you're going to jail.
Do not touch me.
Sir, can we talk outside, please?
I'm trying to
Talk
listen.
outside, please.
And he escalated with me. I am doing my job. This is covered by the First Amendment.
The First Amendment of the United States Constitution explicitly prohibits Congress from creating any laws that would restrict the freedom of the press. Courts have interpreted this clause to safeguard not only the press's right to publish news, but also their right to gather and acquire newsworthy information. In this particular case, the court made a definitive differentiation between the circumstances of that case and the current situation.
Oh, sir.
Sir, this is bad. Stop.
I am on the ground.
Stop resisting. Stop. Oh my God. Stop. You should get this.
Resist.
This is so bad.
Lay flat, please.
You guys, he's a national correspondent. You cannot do this.
I'm a reporter with News Nation. It's all being recorded right now.
I hope it is.
Excessive force. Because you can't talk to people about doing their jobs.
Oh my God, I cannot believe this.
This is what it's like to be a black reporter in
Evan, I'm so
2023.
sorry. Evan, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Sia.
Pull over, sir.
The court emphasized that the mayor did not withhold access to information that was commonly available to other media representatives or prevent the reporter from participating in press conferences. In this scenario, Mr. Lambert's reporting did not seem to cause any disruption, as Governor DeWine mentioned that he was unaware of the incident, only hearing about the disagreement that occurred after the troopers and Major General Harris approached Mr. Lambert.
You got me record all that.
I did, sir. You want me to shut off?
No, you can keep recording. We just need to make sure that no one else comes in here that's not authorized.
Rudeness or disrespect.
Hello.
We've been waiting for.
In his statement, Governor DeWine acknowledged that reporters possess the full right to report during press briefings. Mr. Lambert could assert a compelling argument that his First Amendment rights were infringed upon by being excluded from the press conference, considering that he was merely performing his job as a reporter.
It's the worst possible time in the world, okay? But there's nothing that we can do about that. He's committed to doing his live show. He's got people talking to him. He doesn't know about whether.
Upon Mr. Lambert's refusal to leave the press conference, East Palestine Detective Daniel Howder and Columbiana County Chief Deputy Jennifer Tucker notify him of his arrest. Subsequently, when he appears to make a slight attempt to move away from the officers, they take action and force him to the ground before handcuffing him.
Comes over and says, "I don't want you here." Okay. He still refused. I didn't.
So now he's arrested.
I didn't witness anything.
That's his own fault. He's arrested. All he had to do was type up.
I didn't.
And he just kept on arguing.
All I'm telling you is, from the television standpoint of.
Later in the episode, the matter of whether the officers possess sufficient probable cause to arrest Mr. Lambert will be addressed. If a court were to determine that the arrest was legally justified, there exists the possibility that Mr. Lambert could face a conviction for resisting arrest, even if he were to be acquitted of the trespassing charge. Despite the charges against Mr. Lambert being dropped, no information has been provided regarding any disciplinary measures against the involved officers, including Major General Harris. It remains unclear whether Mr. Lambert or News Nation intends to pursue legal action against any of the parties involved. On the whole, the numerous officers involved receive criticism, as they are likely to have infringed upon Mr. Lambert's First Amendment rights by unjustly excluding him from a public press conference, arresting him for refusing to relinquish those rights, and employing unnecessary force during his arrest and initial disagreement with Major General Harris.